Okay, first of all, to the people accusing me of bootlicking in the chat, sure, that's fine. These are confusing cases because you have a former cop who's charged by the state. So which do you prefer? Do you prefer to bootlick the former cop, or do you prefer to bootlick the state? I'm not sure. But that being said, all of that aside, here's what should have happened. When the lady saw the intruder outside the window of her home and had a gun in her hand, she should have shot him. She should have shot the cop. She should have shot him. I would have shot him. I think Andrew would have shot him.
I would have shot him.
Well, you can't.
Well, not here. I could back home. I mean, Utah, you're encouraged to shoot them.
It's not about this. This isn't a case about like the proper policing. Like, this guy followed policies that I disagree with. I don't like exigent circumstances. I like the warrant requirement. I don't want interventionist police. I've talked about this over and over. When police were invented in the United States in their capacities here, they didn't have the ability to be interventionists. Information moved too slowly. They were servers of warrants and arresters of people under those warrants. They were investigative after the fact. They were the cleanup crew. I kind of like that. I believe that people and communities were empowered to police the activity within those communities. I would prefer to see something move back towards that. But this is
just look at the Ahmaud Arbery case. Look at the Ahmaud Arbery case, right? When the McMichaels and Roddy Bryant engaged in self-help rather than call the police, they ended up with life sentences. So people are not incentivized to intervene themselves into these unambiguous situations. They're incentivized to call the police and have the police take care of it.
Right. And personally, like I would prefer the opposite of that. But for this defendant acted in a way that is legally justifiable. Whether that legal justification is something we prefer or don't prefer is a different question. I hate every encounter that ends up with a citizen dead by police. I hate all of them. I don't want encounters with police officers. I want them reduced dramatically. I think there are tons of ways that we can do it by eliminating stupid laws. One of my go-to cases is Eric Garner up in New York selling loose cigarettes outside of a convenience store, ends up dead because of a bullshit law that meant New York City couldn't collect taxes on cigarettes that were already sold in New York City. So they already collected taxes, but they wanted to double tax. So that ends up with a guy dead by police. I hate it. That cop walked. I think it's one of the worst things. It is one of the most obvious, like, cop versus citizen problems that didn't turn out with the citizen actually acted like a complete piece of shit, like Mike Brown, for example. Mike Brown down in Ferguson is punching a cop through the window, grabbing his gun, has powder burns on his hand because his hand was so close to the gun, walks away, turns around, charges a cop discharges. Darren Wilson's entire life is ruined because this guy was violent asshole who also was stealing shit, like armed robbing a convenience store just before that.
Well, right? Yeah, strong arm robbery.
Or strong arm robbery, yeah.
Right.
But Eric Garner's a completely different case. And that's a case that's, in my opinion, much better suited towards the arguments. And of course, one of the biggest ones.
I think the Garner case is very parallel to this one. I don't think that cop was responsible for the policy. I mean, this not selling loosies, that's the city policy. He's just, he's the cop. So he's ordered to enforce the city policy. That's what we expect our cops to do. That's why we hire them. I looked at that case very closely. What ultimately killed that poor guy Gardner was really his physiology.
Him being fat. Yeah, him being a big fat ass is what killed him. And that's what I was going to get to. The cop, I don't think, wanted to kill Eric Garner in any way, but it doesn't matter because what I'm talking about is just reducing the number of pointless interactions between civilians and police, because every law, every ordinance ends with a bullet at the end of the day.
Right.
Because someone either resists, is perceived to resist, some passerby gets involved in a scuffle, anything can happen. And I think reducing those is ultimately good. And of course, the worst one that I've seen ever was Daniel Shaver, who's the guy in the La Quinta hallway. And he's got like 6 cops yelling conflicting orders at him. He tries to comply and he gets iced right there in the hallway. It's really horrible. There's no race issue involved in that one. It's just a fucking tragedy and bad policing leading to the death of a citizen over what could have been handled in a completely different way. But policy dictated how things worked. That police officer should be in prison, and so should his supervisor who was there, in my opinion. But you know, these are the things we're up with. But bootlicking and general policy aside, you have to look at each case as they come before you. And this guy, we don't want what happened, but did he do anything unlawful? And it really looks like a completely justified use of force, as unfortunate as that is.
Nuremberg, just following orders. I mean, I've seen that in chat more than once. You know, it's
what an idiotic argument. So, of course, what Nuremberg is referring to is following orders that are clearly immoral. Searching an apparent burglary site for evidence of forcible entry is not clearly immoral.
Slightly different than genocide.
Lackluster said Daniel Shaver's wife just got paid $8 million, which nice, I guess. The interesting part of that is, of course, George Floyd's non-wife and family, who largely seem to hate him, got $28 million. So kind of sucks to be in that camp.
Yeah. What about the guy with the knife? The guy who got shot right around the Kim Potter trial period. Remember, he was getting into the car at gunpoint.
Oh, the guy,
Freddie,
not Freddie Gray. That was Baltimore. The guy up in Wisconsin who sparked the Rittenhouse stuff, right?
He got shot in the back by the cop.
Was it?
Maybe
we might be thinking of different ones.
His girlfriend had called the cops on him. The girlfriend had called the cops on him because he wasn't returning her car or something. And then the cop showed up. Jacob Blake. That's the guy.
Yeah.
I think he got 27 million.
He got a shitload of money. He lived. I think he might be paralyzed. I know he was in a wheelchair at least for a while. Yeah, he got like 7 bullets in him. Yeah. Plus 25 million on GoFundMe. And people can be sold a lot of stories. Jacob Blake was a piece of shit who was kidnapping children in a stolen car, fought with cops with a knife in his hand.
With a knife in his hand. Right. A big ass knife.
Those cops had all the restraint in the world until he's literally about to steal a car in front of them with children in the back that he is kidnapping. They finally shoot him. They don't even manage to kill him. It's like, oh God, I feel bad for this guy.
They literally shot to wound.
Here, have millions of dollars. Oh my God.